Hey there, everyone. Today, we're diving into a topic that unfortunately affects many of us at some point in our careers. Toxic bosses. We've all heard horror stories, or maybe even experienced firsthand the nightmare of working under a truly terrible manager. But how do you know if your boss is just having a bad day or if they're genuinely toxic? Well, buckle up, because we're about to break down the telltale signs of a toxic boss. Number 1. The Constant Critic. Let's kick things off with a classic toxic boss move: constant criticism. Now, don't get me wrong, constructive feedback is essential for growth and improvement, but there's a world of difference between helpful guidance and relentless negativity. A toxic boss will rarely, if ever, have anything positive to say about your work. They'll pick apart every little detail, focusing solely on what went wrong rather than acknowledging what you did right. It's like they're wearing negativity goggles that filter out all the good stuff. The problem with this approach is that it doesn't just hurt your feelings. It can seriously impact your performance and motivation. When you're constantly bombarded with criticism, it's hard to feel confident in your abilities or excited about your work. You might find yourself second-guessing every decision, afraid to take risks or show initiative. Number 2, the credit thief. Next up on our toxic boss bingo card is the credit thief. This is the boss who's quick to take credit for your accomplishments, but even quicker to throw you under the bus when things go wrong. Picture this. You've been working tirelessly on a project for weeks. You've put in extra hours, come up with innovative solutions, and finally presented your work to the higher-ups. And then, just as the applause starts, your boss steps in and says, "We did a great job on this, didn't we?" Suddenly, your hard work becomes a team effort, and by team, they mean themselves. This behavior is particularly insidious because it not only robs you of the recognition you deserve, but also makes it harder for you to advance in your career. After all, if your boss is taking credit for all your wins, how will anyone know what you're truly capable of? Number 3, the Micromanager. The Micromanager. A special breed of toxic boss that seems to think their job title is professional hoverer. These bosses have an uncanny ability to be everywhere at once, peering over your shoulder, physically or virtually, and questioning every decision you make. A micromanaging boss might insist on being CC'd on every email, demand constant updates on your progress, or even try to dictate how you should perform the most basic tasks of your job. It's like they think you can't be trusted to tie your own shoelaces without their supervision. The irony is that micromanagement often leads to decreased productivity and increased stress. When you're constantly interrupted or second-guessed, it's hard to get into a good workflow. Plus, it sends the message that your boss doesn't trust your judgment or skills, which can be a real confidence killer. Number 4, the growth blocker. A good boss should be invested in your professional development. They should be helping you grow, learn new skills, and advance in your career. A toxic boss? Well, they're more likely to be actively blocking your growth. This can manifest in several ways. They might refuse to give you new responsibilities even when you've proven yourself capable. They might withhold opportunities for training or development. Or they might even sabotage your efforts to advance, perhaps by giving you a lukewarm recommendation when you're up for a promotion. Why would a boss do this? Often, it's because they feel threatened. They might worry that if you become too skilled or too valuable, you'll outshine them or take their job. It's a short-sighted and selfish approach that ultimately hurts both you and the company. Number 5, the two-faced charmer. Here's a particularly tricky type of toxic boss to deal with: the two-faced charmer. This is the boss who's all smiles and supportiveness when higher-ups are around, but turns into a completely different person when it's just you and them. They might praise your work to their superiors while criticizing you in private. Or they might be friendly and approachable in group settings, but cold and dismissive in one-on-one interactions. It's like dealing with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it can leave you feeling confused and off balance. This behavior is problematic for several reasons. First, it makes it hard for you to trust your boss or build a genuine working relationship with them. Second, it can make it difficult for others in the company to recognize the problems you're facing, since they only see your boss's good side. Number 6, the unreasonable demander. We've all had to deal with tight deadlines or high-pressure situations at work, but a toxic boss takes this to the extreme, constantly setting unrealistic expectations and demanding the impossible. This might look like assigning you more work than can possibly be completed in the given time frame, or expecting you to be available 24/7 to respond to their messages. They might dismiss your concerns about workload or work-life balance. Perhaps with a dismissive other companies have it worse, or that's just how it is in this industry. The problem with this approach is that it leads to burnout, stress, and a decline in the quality of work. When you're constantly racing to meet impossible deadlines, you don't have time to do your best work or to learn and grow in your role. Number 7, the favoritism player. In the workplace, we all want to be judged on our merits, our skills, our work ethic, our results. But a toxic boss often plays favorites, making decisions based on personal preferences rather than professional considerations. This boss might give the best assignments or opportunities to their favorites, regardless of who's actually best suited for the task. They might be more lenient with some team members while coming down hard on others for similar mistakes. Or they might even engage in office gossip, bad-mouthing some employees while praising others. This behavior creates a toxic work environment where employees feel they have to compete for the boss's favor, rather than focusing on doing their best work. It can lead to resentment, decreased morale, and a breakdown in team cohesion. Number 8. The public shamer. A good boss knows that negative feedback should be given privately while praise can be public. A toxic boss, they seem to have this backwards. The public shamer is the boss who has no qualms about criticizing you in front of your colleagues. They might call you out in a meeting for a mistake, or send a team-wide email pointing out your shortcomings. This behavior is not only unprofessional, but it's also incredibly demoralizing. Being publicly shamed can make you feel humiliated and undervalued. It can damage your relationships with your coworkers and make you dread coming to work. Plus, it creates an environment of fear where people are afraid to take risks or admit to mistakes, which can stifle innovation and problem solving. Number 9, the gaslighter. Now let's talk about one of the most insidious types of toxic bosses, the gaslighter. This is the boss who makes you question your own reality, memory, and perceptions. A gaslighting boss might deny saying something you clearly remember them saying. They might downplay your accomplishments or exaggerate your mistakes. They might even manipulate situations to make you doubt your own competence or sanity. For example, you might clearly remember your boss telling you to prioritize Project A over Project B. But when Project B falls behind, they insist they never said that and accuse you of poor time management. This kind of behavior can make you feel like you're losing your grip on reality. Gaslighting is particularly harmful because it can erode your self-confidence and make you doubt your own judgment. It's a form of psychological manipulation that can have long-lasting effects on your mental health and professional self-image. Number 10, the rule breaker. A toxic boss often believes that rules are for other people, not for them. They might regularly break company policies, bend ethical guidelines, or even skirt legal requirements. This could look like asking you to fudge numbers on a report, expecting you to lie to clients, or pressuring you to work off the clock. They might justify this behavior by saying it's for the good of the company, or that everyone does it. The problem with this, aside from the obvious ethical issues, is that it puts you in an impossible position. Do you go along with your boss's unethical behavior and compromise your own integrity? Or do you stand up to them and risk retaliation? Neither option is appealing, and both can lead to significant stress and anxiety. Number 11, the emotional manipulator. Last, but certainly not least, we have the emotional manipulator. This toxic boss uses your emotions against you, playing on your fears, insecurities, or desire for approval to control your behavior. They might use guilt trips to make you work longer hours or take on extra tasks. They might play hot and cold, lavishing praise one day and giving you the silent treatment the next. Or they might use personal information against you, making subtle threats or insinuations to keep you in line. This kind of emotional manipulation can be incredibly draining and stressful. It can make you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, never sure where you stand or what might set your boss off next. So, you've recognized some of these signs in your own boss. What now? Well, that's a topic for another video, but here are a few quick tips. Number 1, document everything. Keep a record of your boss's behavior, especially if you think you might need to report them later. Number 2, set boundaries where you can. It's not always easy, but try to establish clear lines about what you will and won't do. Number 3, Build a support network. Connect with colleagues, mentors, or friends who can offer support and perspective. Number 4, know your rights. Familiarize yourself with your company's HR policies and your legal rights as an employee. Number 5, consider your options. Sometimes, the best solution might be to look for a new job with a healthier work environment. Remember, a toxic boss can have a serious impact on your mental health, job satisfaction, and career progression. It's not just part of the job. You deserve to work in an environment where you're respected and supported. So there you have it, folks, the signs of a toxic boss. From the constant critic to the emotional manipulator, these behaviors can turn a dream job into a nightmare. It's important to remember that while a boss might display one or two of these behaviors occasionally, we're all human after all, a truly toxic boss will show a consistent pattern of harmful behavior. If you're dealing with a toxic boss, know that you're not alone, and there are steps you can take to protect yourself and your career. Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive into toxic boss behavior. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Until next time!